I'm Tim Timberlake, author of The Power of 1440, and I am on the Man of the Hour this week. And listen, we talk about a number of different things that you don't want to miss: time, gratitude, priorities, and perspective. Tune in to this week's episode of the Man of the Hour.
It's Tim Timberlake. Welcome. Could I call you Tim
Thank you
Tim?
so much.
You ever been called
Yeah,
Tim
man.
Tim?
That Tim is powerful, man. The
Isn't it
double
fun?
names affect that.
Isn't it fun to have a name like that? Tim Timberlake.
It's fun now. It's not so fun growing up. You got the two names that are the same. You get picked on a lot, but then it turned out to kind of be a power name. So I'm quite enjoying it now.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's a power name. I'm so excited to have you for the rest of this podcast episode. You said picked on. We're about to go find out who those people were, shove this podcast in their face and say, you know what? He's this week's Man of the Hour. And I'm so excited to have you. You launched a new book, and I want to start there. The
Yeah.
Power of 1440. And the tagline is, I want you to explain what the Power of 1440 is, because I think a lot of people could be like, wait, what is that? But more importantly, the tagline is making the most of every minute in a day. And I was like, you know what? That may very well be this podcast episode's name. That is a powerful statement. So please tell us, how did this book come to life, Tim?
Yeah, man. Thank you. So when we typically think of a day, we categorize it in terms of 24 hours. And it seems like that's a lot of time until you hone in on it and really boil it down to the minutes. And each and every day, we're given 1,440 minutes to steward. And so what this book really kind of unpacks and does for us is it takes us on a journey of how to be good stewards over the days, over the minutes, and over the moments that we get in this life. So we don't look up 20 years from now and say, I wish I had done this better. I wish I had did that when I had the time to do it. And that's really where the book came from. It comes from a place of pain for me. And a lot of authors, they either write from a place of joy or they write from a place of pain and regret. And so this book was really kind of pioneered out of that pain and regret category. And on my 18th birthday, gosh, almost 20 years ago now, my father, who was battling for his life with terminal stage 4 throat cancer, sat me down and began to talk with me and began to share with me some of the things that was on his heart for my life. And my parents were both pastors, and at the time they led, if not the largest church in North Carolina, one of three of the largest churches in North Carolina. And my dad was telling me some things that I could look forward to in life as a man. And being 18 on your 18th birthday, you're not thinking about having a conversation with your dad about life. You just want to go out partying. I was thinking about going to the club. I was thinking about everything else except that conversation. And then after 5 hours, he pats me on the leg. He goes upstairs to his room, and 2 a.m. the next morning, my mom knocks on my door. She says, hey, I need you to help me get your dad out of bed. He's not responding. And I go into his room. I pull him off of the bed. We kind of fall onto the floor, and he had already died. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, I thought I had more time. I thought we would have more time together to have more of these type of conversations. And the reality is life isn't promised to us. And so it's our job to make sure we get the most out of every minute so that we can create memorable moments. And those moments that we create our realities and what we experience in this life.
You said it, and it came from a place of pain too, and full transparency. I could only imagine what that would have been like for you. But to now live a life, I know, of like great faith and optimism on behalf of your dad is something that's so important to you. But you're right. People don't ever get that offloaded on their 18th birthday, where it's like, you got the rest of your life ahead of you, and you should not waste 1,440 minutes. So break that down for us for a second. When you started thinking about 1440 to you and the time that you may have wasted, you said coming from a place of pain and regret, for example, could have very well been what brought this book to life. But more importantly for you, where did you feel like the time was wasted? And then the gentle reminder from your dad playing into that, what was your wake up moment? I want to better understand.
Yeah. So for me, just thinking about that day, there's very few days where I don't think about or try to remember some of the wisdom and the knowledge and the nuggets he was dropping in that conversation. And so, a lot of times we live either in the regrets of our past or in the hopes of our future. And we really never are intentional about the present moment we have right here, right now. Specifically as men, we always think in terms of future. We always think in terms of hopes. A lot of the ladies, they think in terms of the regrets of the mistakes of their past. And so, as humans, we have this obligation, we have this duty to really live in the moment, the present moment we have here, and squeeze the life out of it. And I just found myself living in this place of regret for an extended period of time, and this place of pain. And I had to make a conscious decision in my life. I'm not going to allow pain to enter into my life without it propelling me. And so, how can this pain propel me? How can this pain push me? How can this pain position me? But not only do these things for me, help other people along the way that may be going through pain, that may have regret, that may be feeling hopeless, that may be feeling this moment of tension. And specifically in 2020, the beginning of 2021, if that period of time has taught us anything, is that we don't control what happens in our life. We think we control it until we lose control. And so if we cannot control it, how can we manage it? We go into the bookstores, we see all these time management books, right? All these different time management books. But one of the things I know, it's very hard to manage what you do not control. We don't tell
Oh,
time
wait,
to
say that
stop.
again. Say
Yeah,
that
but
again.
it's very hard to manage what you do not control. And
Yeah.
so we don't tell time to stop. We don't tell time to go. We don't tell time to speed up. We can't tell time to slow down. And so if we can't manage it, what can we do with it? And the reality is we can steward it. And so after we take our last breath, time continues to go on, but it's up to us to make sure we steward the time that we have very, very well.
And that was said very, very well. Tim, I couldn't have thought of any other words to put together in sentences that would have made more sense for time. Because everybody talks about how they can't control it and how they're wasting it. But it's
Yeah.
also this thing that, like, how do you view time? For instance, let me hold up this clock.
Hmm.
Oh, if it even were. Okay, 1:30. Well, it's pretty accurate. By the way, everybody, if you're looking at the video, we're recording this at 1:38 p.m. Eastern time. But how do you look at time? Because if you can break that down for us, I feel like anybody listening,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a better understanding of just how to utilize something that doesn't exist. Like, I can hold up a clock, but these are numbers that just say it is 1:38,
Well,
39
sure,
now.
for sure.
Oh wow, we just talked about it for the last minute. No, I'm kidding. But
I know.
how do you look at time? Because then we can practice framing it, I'm sure.
Yeah, so the way that I look at time may be different than the way others look at time. But I look at time as the reminders of how blessed we are to live the life that we live. And so every single minute that we have an opportunity to walk out and live, it should be a reminder to us of the life that we live, no matter if it can be better. And I'm sure for a lot of us listening to this, we have hopes and we have dreams and we have aspirations to do bigger and better things. But the fact that you still have the ability to think about doing those things is a blessing. The fact that you still have the opportunity to do those things is a blessing. And a lot of times we compare our lives to the life of other people instead of looking at what we currently have and how we can be better at those things. And one of the biggest killers of contentment is comparison. And so for me, time is a friendly reminder that I still have an opportunity to fulfill my God given assignment before I take my last breath.
Come on. I'm so glad you're on this podcast, Tim. When you think about, and I think a lot of us can think about this too, when comparing ourselves to other people, I
Mhm.
read something the other day. Oh my God, it's actually on my phone. And I swear, if this was a live taping, you would shoot me. You'd be like, Justin, what the hell? Look, ready? So I'm pulling up a quote right now that I literally posted on Instagram yesterday. And it's funny because it's very serendipitous that you're on the show. Okay, I'm just going to read it. Someone graduated at 21, but walked away 6 years. Oh, sorry, waited 6 years to get a good job.
Mm.
Someone had no education, but was a millionaire at 21.
Mhm.
Someone got married at 20, but divorced 5 years later. Someone got married at 30, but found everlasting love. You're not late, you're not early, you're on time,
That's it.
to your point.
That's it, man. And waiting time is never wasted time. And
Yeah.
preparation is never lost time. And sometimes, one of the
Wow.
most frustrating seasons of our life is when we are preparing, when we're
Mm,
preparing to do something. And oftentimes it feels like we are waiting and wasting. But waiting time is never wasted time because you are learning in that period
mm,
of time how to manage, how to steward, how to be better at whatever it is that you may be doing. And so
mm.
my father used to tell me, Jay, he used to say, youth is often only understood when you're too old to enjoy it. And a lot of times
I could see that.
they take this time, and as you was reading that quote, a lot of the failures in that were in the younger years. And sometimes we walk into things before we are able to truly understand the meaning and the weight of what they are. And to be honest with you, some of those things we rush because we don't have the patience to allow them to um, mature and to come into our life at the right time. But I'm a firm believer of this: anything that I receive prematurely, I always receive too small. And so, although it may take more time, I am patient enough to allow it to run its course so that when I walk into it or when I receive it, I'm ready for it and it's not wasted time.
So then let me play devil's advocate. What if
Yeah.
you're presented with something that is premature, but it wasn't something you fostered? It's just an opportunity that came to your lap, but you feel like you're not necessarily ready for it. How would you handle that?
Yeah. So, three things that I ask myself, and this is how I kind of judge opportunities, this is how I kind of judge, the seasons and determine how I step into something that I'm not anticipating or expecting. Number one, does it add value? Number two, will it add anxiety? And number three, will it live beyond me? And so
Wow.
I can judge a lot by if it adds anxiety to me or not. If it adds anxiety to me, maybe it's not the time for me to do it. What is anxiety? Anxiety is experiencing failure in advance. And so anything that I am experiencing failure in prematurely, I have to realign my focus and my priorities to see if that's something I really want to do at this particular stage in life.
Wow. Again, well said. That's the perfect approach to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I hope
Yeah.
to be where you're at when, I'm
Oh,
25. I got some years to practice everything. Everything you're vomiting and saying and vomiting in the best way, like on this pod now is just like too good. I'm like, it's almost too
it's
good to be true, Tim.
good.
Talking about Tim with an E. If you do put the E in front of the
That's
B,
true.
you could have time in your name
That's
too,
true.
which is
Very
very
true.
interesting. Tim, I'm loving this. More on gratitude for a moment.
Yeah.
Feel like when you can appreciate time and you can appreciate the fact that life is in front of you and life is happening. I've often said this before on this podcast. When life happens, it doesn't necessarily happen to you, it happens for you.
Yep.
And you have to learn to appreciate that. Some people look at me and they're like, oh my God, you gratitude journal in the morning? It's not like I write 7 pages of a novel for my memoir. I literally just write down like 5 things I might be
Yeah.
grateful for that day, and it changes your perspective on things. How do you approach gratitude or advise other people to approach gratitude?
It you're so right. It changes your perspective.
Mm,
It doesn't mean that you are grateful for everything that happens to you. And this is what I know. You can't determine how you're wounded, but you can determine how you heal. And gratitude is one of the ways that we can decide how to heal. And so gratitude is so important because the grateful cannot fail, but the ungrateful cannot succeed. And so in everything, there's something to be grateful for. In everything, there's something to have our perspective really anchored in in the ocean of gratitude, if you would have it. And if our perspective is right, then our life will go in the direction of what we see. And as we're kind of talking, I'm reminded of um, one of my mentors, man, I was sitting at a table with them, and we're sitting at opposite ends of the table, and there's a bowl of fruit in the middle of us. And Jay, he says to me, he says, "Hey, Tim, tell me what you see." So I begin to name off fruit to him. I see grapes, I see a banana, I see apple. And he says, "Stop." And then he began to name off to me the fruits that he saw. He said, "I see an orange." He said, "I see a nectarine. I see some cranberries." And I knew he was making a point. And the point that he was making to me was, we can be at the same table, but based off of where we sit will determine our perspective. And if our perspective is right, then what we see will always be right as well. And so in life, we can be looking at the same circumstance, we can be looking at the same situation, we can be looking at the same current events on the news, but based upon our perspective will determine our reality. And if we can have the silver lining of gratitude throughout everything that we do, it helps to shape our life and our future and our destiny in such a unique and opportune way, that will push us beyond our level of comfort.
It is so empowering to think that you said destiny, that your independent destiny can very much be based around your perspective that you have, that are based on your experiences. And people don't understand that sometimes. They're thinking, oh, well, my perspective is just me thinking that the glass is half full, not half empty. That's a slogan or a
Yeah.
saying, right? That should be plastered on your bathroom wall when you're washing your hands, not something you should actually just look at simply enough. You brought up the fact that oftentimes people's perspective is just maybe what table they're sitting at what point of the table they might be on or
Hmm.
sitting at. And when you were saying that, I was like, oh wow, I wonder how many people we would sit at a table together looking at that bowl of fruit, and everybody has different perspectives.
I'm
And it's a
telling
good thing.
you. Yeah. And
It is a
there's
beautiful thing.
there is so much gold in difference.
And
Can you imagine if we all looked the same?
oh my God, ew, that's boring. That's
Yeah,
like the
right.
blob episode of Fairly Odd Parents. You remember that? That's so boring.
But thank goodness for our difference. And there's very few things that society and culture doesn't see value and difference in. One
Right.
of them is politics, the other is race. We can go down the list, but when it comes to food, we like a variety. When it comes to ice cream, we like a variety. When it comes to, opportunity, we
Music and
like a variety.
yep.
And difference is a good thing. And so I think as we are talking and, building those bridges of relationships, it's important that we understand the different perspectives of the people that are sitting at the table with us.
I love that. Such a good analogy that blended itself after you said you sat at that table with your mentor and the fruit. Because I often tell people, I'm like, I want every type of person at my dinner table.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want y'all to have home training from different countries. I
Yeah.
want you to teach me how to eat with chopsticks. I mean, I know how to eat with chopsticks, but that's a table. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, I want my Last Supper, bring a religion in for a moment. I want my Last Supper to have 15 people from all over the world.
Yeah,
You know what I
man.
mean? That's
Yep,
the direction I think we're going in as a society, which is a great thing.
for sure.
But again, it's all based on your perspective, your upbringing, your
That's it.
experiences with different people and such. Which, like you said, it could be a very beautiful thing. Um, dang, I love that. Back to the idea of minute, though. I mean,
Yeah.
so making the most of every minute in a day. I think people can look at that, and I would look at that and say, okay, well, there goes 1 minute, there goes another, and before you know it, you're hitting the hour and the 24-hour mark of the
Right.
day.
Yeah.
When you know you want something in life, be it professionally or personally, even if you want like a boyfriend or girlfriend,
Hmm.
okay, you're going to spend minutes on the dating apps, or you're going to spend
For
minutes
sure.
trying to figure out where you're going to take that person out for a drink, whatever it might be. When you know what you want, what are tangible steps people can be doing, I guess, in the days, to not get too overwhelmed with the idea that they would
Yeah.
have to like do something every single minute, but like
Yeah,
still making the most of every minute in the day, for example.
for sure. So the goal of the book isn't to have a better schedule. It isn't to calendar out what you're going to do every single minute, but the goal of it is to make us hyper aware of how we spend the minutes that we have. And so, prime example of this is, if me and you were in a hotel lobby and we sit in that lobby for 15 minutes, and as we first enter into it, we hear the music playing in the background. After a period of time, the music gets washed out because we get used to it until somebody walks up to us and says, "Hey, what's that song that's playing?" Then we become hyper aware of what we've already been listening to. Or if we're in the kitchen and there's food being cooked and we smell it and we're around it, after a period of time, you forget what you're smelling until someone else comes into the kitchen and says, "That smells good. What is that you're cooking?" Then we become hyper aware of it. And so with time, I think we utilize it in such a way that we need reminders to make us hyper aware that these are the minutes that we have. And this is how we should prioritize these moments and minutes in our life, because there is no balance in life. People think we can balance life. There is no balance in life. I should not give as much balance of time to my wife, to my son, as I give balance to everyone else. It should not be balance. And so if there's no balance, what should it be? It should be priorities. And so for those that are spending time, looking for that one, those that are looking for that date, it's a priority. And so you utilize your time the way you prioritize it. And people tell me all the time, "Hey, I wish I had more time in a day. I wish there was more time." And I always push back
There's
and tell them,
plenty.
I say, there's tons of time. You just have to prioritize it and steward it well. And so that's the way that I look at time. It's from the perspective of priorities and not balance. And it's from the
Mm.
perspective of making sure that I'm hyper aware in these moments that we have, so that they don't escape me. And I don't look back over them and say, "I wish I had done that better."
Mm. Drop some more knowledge for us, T. Do you think spill the T T T T T? What's your middle name? Start with a T?
Elon, Elon Musk, man.
Oh, nice. He was just on Saturday Night Live.
He was.
That was a dope episode. TET. It should be an N. TNT Dynamite. That would be so funny, Tim. Do,
Oh my
do you
gosh.
do you consider yourself a productive person?
I do. I don't consider myself, there's a difference between being busy and being productive. And
Ooh, that's what
so,
I had written down right here. I
yeah,
swear.
I do consider myself to be a productive person. And I believe a part of the success of productivity
Uh-huh.
is making sure you have the right team around you,
Mhm.
because you can only go as far as your circle. And so the last thing that you want to do is become the lid to your own life. And so you need people around you that can see more in you than what you can in the current season of life that you are in. And so a lot of what people see, a lot of the productivity that they see in my life is because of the people that I have around me. And so I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I never want to be the most knowledgeable person about something in the room. I never want to be the wisest person in the room. I always want the best around me because they help get out of me my best. And so I consider myself to be a productive person for sure.
I love that. We're going to hit on two things for a moment before I forget. Sometimes I do actually have to say these things out loud so that we can actually fulfill the conversation, because I like will forget and will go on tangents. The So productivity for a moment.
Mhm.
uh Actually, no, yes, productivity, we'll talk about that, and then we'll also, I want to go into community and keeping those right teams around you. It could be a
Yeah.
professional team,
Yeah.
like you have assistant maybe, or you maybe have a management team, or maybe you have accountant or something. Or it could be personally, where you just got really dope friends that have your
Mhm.
back, or the ones that are really smart with the high IQs and like the CEO of a company or something, right? But they also probably look into you for like
Mhm.
specific expertise, or they look at you as the expert and the smartest one. And how do you think that works? So, for example, if someone's looking for that right team or the right group of people to be around, I would imagine that if they're trying to be around people that are smarter and, more successful, not more successful, but like smarter, successful, hardworking, and driven, if they're trying to surround themselves with those kind of people, don't you think they would attract those people by being that person?
Yeah, I think all of us though are uniquely gifted and have these unique gift sets and strong suits in certain areas of life. And so like for me, I'm not great at the logistics side of things. Now, as far as business, as far as an entrepreneurial mind, as far as leadership, those are my strong suits. But I need someone around me that will help me with the operational, with the logistics, with the administration part of those things, so that what I envision can be incorporated. And so in business, in any entrepreneurial endeavors, it has to go from visionary to execution, but the in between is process. And a lot of people miss it because they don't have the right people around them to help get through the process to execution. And if you go from vision to execution too fast, you send your circle into whiplash and it could implode the whole thing. And so there has to be a process and time for those that are listening to us that are business leaders or dabbing and dibbling into entrepreneurship, whatever it may be. You can be the visionary, but you got to have somebody around you that can execute what you have in your mind and get it off of paper into the hands and hearts of the people that need to grab a hold of what it is that you have. And so that for me would be, what I say about the circle that we should all aspire to have around us. Each circle should have two different people groups, one that's mentoring you and one that you're mentoring. And so when we live our life as really a faucet, there has to be a stream running through us, but there also has to be an exit for the stream to come out of us. So our lives are never meant to be just retainers without pouring back into some other people. And so the knowledge that we have, the opportunities that we have is because some other faucet allow what they carry to pour out into us. And so it's our job to pour that out into the people that are around us and maybe quite possibly the generation that's coming behind us.
Mm, that's something to be grateful for. I love that. There are
100.
people that I'm looking at all the time. You're going to be in my circle. I'm always like, wait, I teach you a lot and you teach me a
Yeah.
lot. I am
Yeah.
inspired by X that you do. You're inspired by X that I do.
1000%.
I love your lifestyle.
1000.
You love my lifestyle. There's different parts of yours that I want in mine and vice versa. And that is so cool. How many times do you feel like you're around people where it's like, it doesn't even feel like a give and take at all with the people that you're
Yeah.
keeping around? It just feels, because here's the problem. I think a lot of people right now are like, oh, but that sounds kind of transactional. Only keep yourself around people that are good at what they do and you're good at what you do. And you guys are just kind of like going back and forth. That's not how it operates.
No, it's zero transaction, it's relational. And so when we look at a river isn't making a transaction, a river is just flowing. And so life flows in the direction of your conversations, it flows in the direction of your dreams, it flows in the direction of your aspirations. And people aren't looking at a river and saying, you know what, that river has a transaction with that mountain, and the mountain has a transaction with the rain. And at the end of it, it dumps into the ocean. No, it's just a river that's flowing. And life should be lived that way. It should flow. There should be the ebbs of flow of relationship that we learn and then we give what we learn. Because at the end of our life, when you really think about it, our memories are the only thing that lasts longer than us. And so you have memories from people that are probably no longer here that you hold on to. I have memories from my father, he's no longer here. I have memories from my grandfather, he's no longer here. And so after I'm gone, my son will have memories of me that live longer than me. And that's really what we have to hold on to when people are no longer here. And so it's important that we pour our lives into the lives of other people so that when we take our last breath, that memory is still stuck here on earth and we continue to make an impact as well as a difference.
So solid. Solid as a rock. You know what else is solid? Foundations. That's what you should be building before this life is over, don't you think?
That's it, man.
It's
Foundations is so important because, at the end of our life, if the foundation isn't solid, we've built on sand and it won't last. It just won't last.
exactly. How many times do you feel like people come to you as if they're building on sand? And what do you tell them in order to get back to a sturdy foundation?
For sure. Every day. Every day somebody is coming that has built on sand. Some days people have built on quicksand. And the quickest way back to a foundation is to help someone else that is also on sand. This is why. At the end of our lives, we're known for one or two things. That's the problems that we create or the problems that we solve. And so to make it more specific, when you really think about it, money is the reward for solving a problem. And so when I'm talking to business leaders, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, when I'm talking to people who have these inventions and they're telling me, hey, I have run out of money, I say, no, you haven't. You've ran out of an idea that helps someone else solve a problem, because you'll never run out of money as long as you have an idea. And so when we think about a foundation, our foundation is built stronger and stronger when we help someone else build theirs. And that's the way life works. When we provide a service to someone else, whether it's through love, whether it's through time, whether it's through relationship, then we receive the same thing in return. And so there's a principle, you reap what you sow. And if we want a strong foundation, then we have to sow that into the lives of someone else.
Mm. You love someone, they love you back, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Wait, Mr. Entrepreneur, I got to pause you there for a second because I do want to know how your mind works in the business world now.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's your sweet spot. You're a fantastic and a beloved pastor, and everybody loves watching you. I love watching you. This book, just like cherry on top of all of that, for who you are. But you also know how, like, that's a secret I feel like people often don't see if someone is a pastor.
Yeah.
There's like, no, you're a businessman as well, away from the church, for example. So when you want to activate services, for instance, when you can add value to solving someone else's problem, can you walk us through your mindset on how, for instance, if you wanted to launch a business tomorrow or take an idea and build a product, what's that strategic thought process like? I'm curious.
Yeah. So if I'm looking to start a business, the first thing I'm doing is seeing what the need or the demand is in the marketplace for it. If there's a need or demand in the marketplace for it, the second thing I'm doing is I'm looking at the competition, seeing what spaces are they filling and what spaces they're not, because it's in those nook and crannies that I could find opportunity for whatever it is in that business lane I'm looking to do. And so wherever you can provide a solution for a problem, that's where you find success. And so it's not about creating something that's never been done. It's about coming alongside of something that's already created and making it better. And so the person that made the socks was not thinking in terms of making a shoe. They got tired of getting corns on their feet. And so they brought forth an accessory to something that was already created.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or like zippers or buttons on pants. It wasn't that pants didn't already exist. It was that this was an accessory that was needed to make them more comfortable. And so whenever I'm looking at the market, I'm looking at what already exists that I can make better, because that's where success is. And so whenever I'm talking to entrepreneurs or businessmen and women, I'm asking them, okay, who's already in this space that you desire to be in? See what they're doing and then see how you can make it better. The worst thing that I think a business person can do, and this goes with everything, specifically in, putting out content or being an author or creating any type of digital content online for the world, is to have a conversation that no one is asking for. That's the worst thing to do. It's the same thing in business. The worst thing to do is jump into a space and create a business for something that no one is asking for. And so I want to experiment, I want to see what people are asking for and then how I can add value to
That's why your middle name is Damn Elon. Okay. How cool. I'm so glad I asked that question. If you're tuning in right now, I hope you're about to start a business tomorrow after you take all that advice. Because you're right. People start things and I'm like, wait, no one asked for that.
Nobody.
Or people start something and I'm like, okay, but you just mimicked someone else and
Telling you.
did nothing different.
It's so true. It is so
Oh
true.
my
It's
God.
the money pit, man. It is
Wow.
money
That's
pit.
an incredible thought process to have going into starting a business, you know? especially if it's a service-based business. For
For
instance, you want
sure.
to launch like a production company. What separates you from your competitors? It's different, but they're like, what is it, like product and service? I guess those are the two main.
Yep.
If it's like a product, for instance, like blue, I say this and I love Felix Gray, blue light eyewear.
Hmm.
What's going to separate you from the other ones that are out there with. So, for example, and I wanted to. This actually came up in my mind when you mentioned what you just said. If there's a already existing company that's very reputable, Hanes,
Hmm.
Coca-Cola, and Apple, they can just launch different verticals underneath that are those
Yep.
needs in the marketplace, sadly.
Hmm.
And then that's still your competition as you're about to launch. Say, like, take the zipper, for example. And I bet that motherfucker's a millionaire, billionaire, whoever created the damn zipper for the pants. He's probably way gone, but you know what? Rest in peace. He probably died a very happy man. But to take the zipper, for example, a pant company that's already in existence that's very reputable could just add zippers to the
I'm
pants.
telling you.
So that's, how do you combat that? Do you just charge after it and just try your very best to be different, fit the niche pocket, and like solve problems?
For sure. Even with that, you always find something that you personally don't like about the product. And rule of thumb is if there's something that you personally don't like, there's probably a community of people out there that feel the exact same way. And so you have to do what you can in market research to find that community of people who need what it is that you have uh, to produce. And so you mentioned, Apple, and you mentioned Coca-Cola, and you mentioned, Hanes. Take Coca-Cola and Apple, for instance, right? Whenever you see an Apple or Coca-Cola commercial, you never hear the ingredients or you never get the detailed specs of the product that they're selling. Ever. You never see an Apple commercial. They tell you, hey, this phone has this much memory, this phone has these many gigabytes, and they never go through all the specs and the details of all those things because at the end of the day, they know you don't care. But what they do sell you is how their product will make your life better. Every commercial that you see that has any type of medication, any Viagra, Cialis, all these different things, they tell you how this medication makes your life better. And then at the end of the commercial, they give you all the warnings sped
In
up
10 seconds. Like,
so
just because they
fast
have
you
to.
can
That's like,
barely you can barely keep up with like, whoa, wait a minute. My heart could explode from taking
yeah.
this. You know what I'm
They're like, your heart could explode in 10 seconds. Da, da, da,
saying?
and then they get straight to the black
That's
screen.
right.
Wait,
So
that's so
these
true.
products, these products, their focus isn't to sell you on the details and the descriptions of the specifications. It's all about how it makes your life better. And I think business leaders and entrepreneurs that are listening to this that can grab a hold of that, you understand you put the energy, you put the money, you put the focus on what you are putting into it, but you also need to understand how it adds value to the lives of other people. Because if you find how it adds value, that's the greatest marketing dollars you could ever spend on your product.
You make me want to start a product tomorrow. We'll do the brainstorming session after this. I don't want to waste any more valuable time that I have with you on an episode of our show to talk about a crazy business idea I might have. But
For
one day I'll
sure.
call you and we'll talk
For
about a
sure.
business plan. Um,
Absolutely.
after the airing of this, Tim, I am so glad I get to spend this much time with you. I got one question. You're a faith-based man that everyone, again, we admire you for so much of what you put out into the world, but on the receiving end, and I know you're a man of service, so essentially you know that things come full circle for you no
Mhm.
matter what. That's why you serve other people. In light of service for you, my final question is that when you look back on the life you've had, given your experiences, how many people you've touched, how many lives you've changed and probably saved, to be honest, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah. So the three words, man, that I pray people remember my life with is job well done. And at the end of my life, that's what I hope people remember me as. The two words that I desire to hear after I leave this life and enter into eternity is just well done. I live my life for those two words and I serve people with those two words in mind. I dedicate my life to service for that. And that's my prayer that somehow, some way, I leave a mark on people's life to search out how they could become better and how they could have hope and how they could build their life around that hope that they have discovered. And if I can do that, then that is a life and a job well done.
I'm going to leave a pause. Oh, I just left a pause. Damn, I interrupted the pause. Whatever. That was beautifully said. Tim Timberlake, thank you for coming to the Men of the Hour. The mission
Thank
of
you.
our show and why I was so excited to have you for the last however many minutes. I stopped counting. I don't even care how long we run these podcasts anymore. Sometimes I was like, oh, we have to hit an hour. Sometimes I'm like, no, you said everything in 10 minutes. Like, that's a perfect episode. So, like, for why we've built the foundation, which I believe is not quicksand, of this show, and that's why you said yes
Yes.
to coming on, thank God.
Yeah.
There are so many people in the world that needed to hear what you just said. And then with your last statement of just being able to do a job well done after
Hmm.
doing that and living in a life of service, dedicating your time and energy to other people so that you can also feel very fulfilled through that. You know, it's exactly why we started this show. So thank you for saying yes. Before we go,
Man.
your
Yeah.
book is out. Where are we buying this? Are we buying it at Barnes and Noble or Amazon.com? Is it all over a website? Is it all three of those?
It's all three of those. You can get them wherever books are sold. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Nobles, or you can go to the power1440.com and click one of the distributors that sell it and that's carrying it and purchase it there.
Oh, I'm excited. And I hope everybody listening, I hope you're excited as well. Making the most of every minute in a day. Tim Timberlake, Pastor Tim, TET. Thank you. Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
allowing me to call you the man of the hour,
Thank
and
you for having me on, man.
for mentoring me in my little business plan in about a year from now.
For sure. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. 1000%.
Oh my God. That was recorded. I hope you know that. No. Thank you
I got
again.
you, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. It's an honor to be on.